Good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Prince Hall Think Tank, a monthly conversation amongst Prince Hall Freemasons where we discuss topics relative to craft masonry. My name is Brother Antonio Caffey, and I'm a very proud past master of St. Mark's Lodge number 7, which is located in Columbus, Ohio, where currently Worshipful Brother Vance Williams serves as Worshipful Master. My lodge was granted a charter in 1852 by the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Ohio, where currently the Honorable Chester C. Christie serves as Most Worshipful Grand Master. Before I let the other brothers and our special guests introduce themselves, I would like to state that the views and opinions that are expressed by us this evening are not necessarily the views and opinions of the lodges and grand lodges in which we hold membership in. Also, as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat option on our YouTube page. And if we have time at the end of the show, we'll try to get to some of them. And while you're on YouTube, if you haven't already done so, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all things Prince Hall Think Tank. At this time, I'll let the brothers introduce themselves, starting with Brother Morgan.
Good evening, everyone. Happy last day of Black History Month 2021. My name is James R. Morgan III. I'm a proud past master of Corinthian Lodge number 18, where Worshipful Master Davian Gregory is currently presiding. I have the honor and pleasure of serving as the Worshipful Grand Historian and Archivist of the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of D.C., where the Honorable Quincy G. Gant is serving as our Most Worshipful Grand Master. And I hope you all are doing well. I'm so excited to be here to talk about one of my favorite aspects of Prince Hall Masonry with the good brother DiMaggio Smith. Pleasure to be here, everybody.
Thank you, Brother Morgan. Brother Jack.
Good evening, everyone. Brother Damian Jack, proud past master of Paul Drayton Lodge number 7 in Charlotte, North Carolina, where Brother Sean Moy serves as our Worshipful Master. Our lodge is under the auspices of the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of North Carolina, where the Honorable Daniel L. D.T. Thompson serves as our 24th Most Worshipful Grand Master. It is an honor and pleasure again to be with you here this evening, and it's also an honor and pleasure to have my good brother and friend on here tonight and look forward to the discussion this evening.
Thank you, Brother Jack. And last, but certainly not least, Brother DiMaggio Smith, welcome aboard. Would you please go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, sir. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. I am Brother DiMaggio C. Smith. I am a member of Unique Lodge number 85, where my Worshipful Master is Brother Derek Burgess. It is a subordinate lodge of the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge, Free and Accepted Masons of North Carolina and Jurisdictions, Inc., where the Honorable Daniel L. D.T. Thompson serves as our 24th Most Worshipful Grand Master. It is definitely a pleasure to be on. Thank you, brothers, for the invite and allow me on your platform. I don't take it lightly. I've been a fan of the shows for quite some time, and I've seen a bunch of them, if not all of them. So thank you again.
Thank you, Brother Smith. So tonight we're pleased to discuss and not only discuss, but really celebrate, an organization whose research shoulders we all stand on. For many of us, the Phylaxis Society was the first entity that helped a lot of us, feel at home within Prince Hall Freemasonry when it comes to research. So we're happy and we're honored to have with us this evening the first vice president of the society, Brother DiMaggio Smith. So, Brother DiMaggio, just there's so much history involved with the society. And not only the research that the members are doing, but just the historical nature of the society in and of itself. So, some of our viewers may not be familiar with that history. So can you help us out with that a little bit, please?
Yeah, most definitely. So, before we could ever talk about the Phylaxis Society, we definitely got to mention Brother Joseph A. Walks Jr., the famed Prince Hall writer. I know many of your viewers definitely know who Joseph Walks is. He was born in November 12th, 1933 in New York. He attended the schools in New York and later graduated from Park College, which is in Parksville, Missouri, with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Criminal Justice Administration. He served in the U.S. Army from 1951 to 1973 and retired at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. He became an administrative assistant at the U.S. Penitentiary in Leavenworth, retiring December 1993. He was made a Mason October 15th, 1965 in Cecil A. Ellis Senior Lodge, number 110. And that was out of Karlsruhe, Germany, on the rolls of the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Maryland. He served as master from 1966 to 1967, and then he later joined King Solomon number 15 out of Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. He would go on to write hundreds of articles and multiple books on the subject of not only Prince Hall Freemasonry, but about Prince Hall himself. He wrote The History of King Solomon Lodge number 15. He wrote, which is very common to probably all of your viewers or most of them, Black Square and Compasses, 200 Years of Prince Hall Freemasonry. He wrote a Prince Hall quiz book, The History of the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Louisiana, The History of the Shrine, as well as the history of my Grand Lodge, the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of North Carolina. So he wrote so many articles and so many books that, you know, he's been widely known as a Masonic writer. He also stacked up plenty of honors during his lifetime. He was an honorary member of the Phylaxis Society, which happened in 1994, which that's a very interesting story that I may touch on a little bit here as well. He was made a friar by the Society of Blue Friars in 1997, and that was an award that recognizes Masonic authors. He was made a member of the Masonic Brotherhood of the Blue Forget-Me-Not in 2000, another award that recognizes Masonic educators and writers. He was recognized as the Mason of the Year for Kansas and awarded the Grandmaster's Medal in 2000. And he was also an honorary member of Iowa Lodge of Research, number 2. And he was granted that honor in 1984. So he would go on to establish the Phylaxis Society. But before he established the Phylaxis Society, in 1971, he became a member of the Phylaxis Society, which was established in 1928, which is a research organization created for the purpose of promoting the highest quality of Masonic education and research. Membership was limited to Masons who belonged to a Grand Lodge of State, Grand Lodge, or one that was recognized by the United Grand Lodge of England. So this is the interesting point about that story about him being a member of the Phylaxis Society. It was that, you know, Prince Hall Freemasonry wasn't recognized at that time. So it was either an oversight or someone allowed him as a member, even though he was a Prince Hall Mason. There was only 2 of them that were members. The other one was Booker T. Alexander, the past Grand Master, the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Michigan. So he joined the Phylaxis in 1971, and then in 1973 is when he founded the Phylaxis Society. And the first edition of the Phylaxis magazine appeared in January of 1974. It was titled, "What Does the Phylaxis Society Seek?" It was then when the magazine was published and entered circulation amongst the various Grand Lodges, research societies, and writers that it was discovered that Brother Walks was actually a Prince Hall Mason. So this caused a bunch of turmoil within the society, the Phylaxis Society, which eventually led to Walks being returned his money for membership fees. And there was a group of members who supported keeping him as a member, but the larger group felt that he shouldn't be a member since he was not in a Grand Lodge that was recognized by the Grand Lodges of State or the Grand Lodge of England. So he never did cash the check. He kept that check in his possession because he felt like, I was already a member, so I'm not taking your money back. So he would keep that check. The Phylaxis Society is what he kind of used as the template for the Phylaxis Society. Just borrowing the multiple things there. I think his thought was, you know, imitation, flattery, and that whole concept, right? So the Phylaxis Society used a square and compass resting on an open book with a lamp of knowledge in the center. And then at the top, it had the words Fiat Lux, which is let there be light. And then at the bottom, it had Veritas, which was meaning truth at the bottom. So if you notice the Phylaxis Society logo, I think it's on the flyer for this show. There's a square and compasses, but in the center is the number 15. And across the top is the open book, which is really the book of truth. And then at the bottom, there's the lamp of light and knowledge, right? So that number 15 It's symbolic of Prince Hall and those 14 other men who would come into Freemasonry around the same time as he came in. And it also speaks to memberships within the society. So you have the subscriber level, where if you're not in a lodge that is recognized by the Conference of Grand Masters or the Grand Lodge of England, you can subscribe to the magazine for a fee. And as you know, or may not know, that Phylaxis magazine comes out on a quarterly basis. Then you have the member of the Phylaxis Society. So to join, of course, you just submit your application. There's a yearly fee for that as well. And then we have Fellow of the Phylaxis Society Honorary. So that's a title that's given to members of the Phylaxis Society who have done a great job in promoting the Phylaxis Society itself or Freemasonry in general. And then we have the actual Fellows of the Phylaxis Society. And so that number can be no more than 15. And that, again, ties back to Prince Hall, the 14 brothers, and that 15 that you see in the middle of the Phylaxis Society logo. So the question I get a lot of times is, what does the word Phylaxis mean? So Phylaxis comes from the Greek. It means to guard or to preserve. Symbolically, we represent it as, we interpret it as to bring forth light and masonry and to guard Prince Hall fraternity against its enemies using truth to preserve our Masonic heritage, right? So that's where we get our motto, which was also borrowed from the Phylaxis Society. What Walks did was interject the word Prince Hall Freemasons in there, but a society for Prince Hall Freemasons who seek more light and who have light to impart. Because the society is an independent, incorporated body, not on allegiance to any Masonic authority, it creates, or his thought was that it would create, this safe space for Prince Hall researchers, historians, and writers to tell our story and to tell it from our perspective. So this was one of the major concerns that Walks had. Many of the early official Masonic organs from different jurisdictions primarily focused on the various events held throughout the jurisdictions and not necessarily on Masonic education, history, or research into Prince Hall, the man. So, he was very focused on creating a body that could, further that information, the research, and provide a place for writers to share their research. However, the other major concern Walks had in the formation of Phylaxis Society was some of the overarching Masonic authorities or Grand Masters who might interpret the new society as a Grand Lodge or possibly a lodge, and that he felt that they may have felt that it was creeping into their jurisdictions. But nevertheless, what he did was he was trying to be very strategic with how he created it. He didn't want to start the Phylaxis Society, and then because of controversies from different, jurisdictions, that it be shut down. So in March 1973, he opened a post office box at Fort Leavenworth to serve as the headquarters for the society. A military base being outside of state or Masonic control would serve as the location of the organization. And perhaps he felt like that would keep it out of jurisdictional trouble with these Grand Masters. Now, one of the comments that he would make, which was he just wanted to make sure people knew that he was going to stand up on what he believed as far as the Phylaxis Society being an independent organization. He would go on to say that the Phylaxis Society was designed to create a bond of union for Prince Hall Masonic writers and also to protect editors of Masonic publication from undeserved aggression of some dressed in a little brief authority. It might be easy to pick on one isolated individual, but the prospect of being held up to scorn of the whole Prince Hall fraternity outside of one's jurisdiction would give cause for pause. So he was basically saying that, there is power in this group of members of this society that cross across different jurisdictions. So the Phylaxis Society itself and the structure that it has, there's 11 elected officers of the society. There's the president, the vice president, the first vice president, the second vice president, the treasurer, the executive secretary, and the financial secretary. And then we have 5 elected board members. And one of those is the chairman of the board. And right now, Honorable Tyrone Jackson out of Illinois is the chairman of the board of directors for the Phylaxis Society. The primary focus, in my opinion, just speaking for myself, I can't speak for the society. The only person that can speak for the society is the president, which is If I hadn't mentioned Honorable Alex L. Smith, past Grand Master out of New Mexico, serves as our 5th president of the society. So the Phylaxis magazine, I feel, is our primary focus, and that's under the supervision currently of our editor, the Honorable Alton Roundtree, who is an actual fellow of the Phylaxis Society, Honorable John B. Williams, who is a president emeritus of the society, and Honorable Jeff Menzies, who's an actual fellow of the Phylaxis Society as well, and as well as the editorial committee made up of a number of different brothers who are members of the Phylaxis Society who they review and critique some of the papers that are submitted for inclusion in the Phylaxis magazine. But I also feel like the blood line of the Phylaxis Society is the Council of Representatives and the Council of Chapters. So the Council of Representatives are individuals who have been appointed as representatives for their jurisdiction. Sometimes, depending on the size of the jurisdiction, there might be multiple brothers in that jurisdiction who are considered part of the Council of Representatives. But their names are listed in the Phylaxis magazine. If you ever want to know who's a representative closest to you or in your jurisdiction, you can take a look at the Phylaxis magazine. And then the Council of Chapters. So the Council of Representatives is currently under the direction of Brother Guillermo Thorne. He's out of Georgia now, but he's from New York. And then the Council of Chapters is currently under the supervision of Honorable Eddie Cruz out of Mississippi. I think we've appointed a new director for the chapters, but so that name should be coming out pretty shortly. There are various areas within the Phylaxis Society. You have the York Rite Research Institute, which is run by Richard Hudson out of Mississippi, as well as the Scottish Rite Research Institute, which is run by Willard Spires out of Mississippi as well. Both of those groups, the York Rite is doing pretty well. The Scottish Rite, I've kind of dropped the ball a little bit on that one, is getting the background and the history over to Brother Spires so that he can take it and run with it. So I'm going to be trying to work with him to get that up and running. There's also the digital archives, visual archives, and then we also have Masonic sites, which is a list of all of the Masonic sites and their locations throughout the United States. And I believe Honorable Morgan was working on that the last I heard. I'm not sure if he's still working on that one. And we also have the Luxie Tenebris Research Chapter. And that's under the leadership of Marlon Honeywell, the current Grand Union Warden out of the Most Worshipful Union Grand Lodge of Florida. And he's the director of the Luxie Tenebris chapter. And then the master of the Luxie Tenebris chapter is Jerry Urso, who's also out of Florida. So, I mean, that's a little bit of, but that's a lot of the structure of the Phylaxis Society. The society also gives out a group of awards. And we have the Certificate of Literature, which is given out each year to a member who writes an article judged to be a masterpiece and is included in the Phylaxis magazine. We have the Ira S. Holder Senior Certificate of Literature, and that's an award that's given out and declared a masterpiece on Prince Hall Freemasonry, but that's for people who are not members of Prince Hall. So others who write on the topic, that's an award that they can receive. You have the Juno G. Lewis or John G. Lewis Medal of Excellence, and that's awarded to the most outstanding Master Mason and Prince Hall Freemasonry in general, or within the Phylaxis Society specifically. There's the Dr. Charles H. Wesley Medal of History. It's awarded annually to the best article on Prince Hall Masonic history. And Honorable James Morgan is a recipient of that award. And then we have, I told you about the Luxie Tenebris, and then we have the Phylaxis Masonic Hall of Fame. So that honors regular Freemasons of the past who have contributed to outstanding service to Prince Hall Freemasonry, and that's all open to any Freemason. And we have the Phylaxis Masonic Hall of Fame, honors regular Freemasons of the past, and I may have said that twice. And then the Tried and True Award, which is our last award, and that's awarded to members who have helped push the society and helping its goals. So a bunch of awards, a bunch of different areas within the Phylaxis Society. Just I hope that's a little bit of background on how the society is structured, a little bit of history of how it got started and who started it, and so forth.
Yeah, Brother Smith. Well, the first thing that jumps out at me is like that's a lot. I mean, and I guess from the time I came into the craft and seeing where the Phylaxis Society was and seeing what it is now, as far as the growth, and a lot of the different projects and a lot of the different things that it's taken on, I think is amazing, and it's a testament to the brothers that are currently leading the society and have led it in the past to where it's at now. So I guess how is all of that, like all of those moving pieces, how is all of that managed?
Very strategically, right? So the way we kind of break it down is you have directors over different groups of projects. So like as the first vice president, I'm over the York Wright Research Institute, Scottish Wright Research Institute, the annual agenda. So you have groups. So you have the second vice president, he's over his group of items. And then the president, of course, has a group of items. So we kind of take it in chunks. As they say, the best way to eat an elephant is bite by bite, right? So we kind of separate it out and assign different duties to different officers within the Phylaxis Society. The representatives, it's a bunch of representatives. So there's a director for all of those representatives who meets with them on a regular basis. And same for the Council of Chapters. They have a regular meeting that they have once a quarter or more, depending on what they want to address. So they'll invite all of the presidents of the chapters to those meetings and kind of discuss, the things that are coming up and any reports and things of that nature that they need. The board of directors meets every quarter as well or more, depending on what's going on. We've been meeting a lot here lately to get prepared for this upcoming virtual session. Divide and conquer is the best way that I can say it. And we got a lot of dedicated members. So, no one's getting paid for anything. So this is all volunteers, but we have a lot of people that really buy into the philosophy of the Phylaxis Society and just willing to step up and do the job.
All right. So, one of the things I think that, Brother Walks was really trying to do with his research, and I think it was the society, was that, at least how I viewed it, back in the day, was just that fight, fighting for not only necessarily the recognition of Prince Hall, because, we were a regular body, but just like, I guess, fighting for just that sense within the greater Masonic world that we are, we are a relevant, branch of Freemasonry. And that we deserve our respect. With mutual recognition being established throughout these years now, where the majority, I guess, jurisdictions are in some type of mutual, right? And I always like that word, mutual recognition between the both bodies. In regards to relevancy of the society today, is it, I guess, for lack of a better term, is the Phylaxis Society still relevant today, given the current nature of Freemasonry, in your opinion? Look.
Well, let me start by saying how I found out about the Phylaxis Society. So I was raised in 2003, April 19th, 2003. And there was a past master of my lodge named Past Master Johnny Gordon, who told me about this online email listserv group called Blue Light. And he told me straight out the gate, he said, there's way too many emails for me. I'm not getting on there, but I recommend that you get on there. I think you like it. There's a lot of information being shared. So I joined Blue Light, and after some time, just being on the listserv, it was so many conversations, so much information, so many files in the files area that it was overwhelming at first. But it was a beautiful website, web group, if you will, and there was a lot of information being shared there. So when I started hearing about the Phylaxis Society, it kind of piqued my interest, and I would often talk to the founder of Blue Light, which is Past Master Ezekiel Bay out of New York, and another good brother, a friend of mine, Brother Ralph McNeil, out of Arizona, by way of New Jersey. So I would always talk with them, and they would always bring up the Phylaxis Society and the work that it has done in the past, and how more young brothers need to be getting involved and doing some work in the Phylaxis Society. And they would just always promote the Phylaxis Society. And it was also through Brother Bay that I would get a chance to speak with Brother Walks one time. So I did talk with Brother Walks one time. We were on the phone, and Bay just basically said, "Hey, you ever talk to Walks?" I said, "No." So he got on the phone and called up Walks and put him on the three-way, and we just talked about some basic information, some things about that he was working on and researching still to that day. And so that was a great conversation, and that's what really made me decide to join the Phylaxis Society. And I joined probably around 2004, 2003, somewhere around there. But I didn't make it to my first convention until 2010. So I went to my first convention in 2010. That was in Arkansas. And I've been going to every one ever since. I haven't missed one. But that's one of the questions I get. What makes a society relevant in today's world? To me personally, that's a strange question. And maybe because I've been so close to the Phylaxis Society on the inside, kind of working and learning and meeting all of the people that's involved with it. I will say that it's a little bit older society, and we definitely need younger members. But when I hear that question, my mind thinks, what would make someone think that the society isn't relevant today? So immediately what came to my mind was the nature of how we receive and impart information in today's society. Everything is based on immediate interaction, feedback, discussion, and of course, sensationalism, right? You have platforms such as Facebook, where you have thousands of Masonic groups and Masonic pages with millions of personal pages. And at any given time, you can get a post, they get 100 comments or 1,000 immediate responses, such as what happened when Whoopi Goldberg wore that sweater. It was just all day long back and forth communication. People felt engaged, and they felt like a part of something. You have platforms such as Instagram, where you can make a meme or a short video discussing any topic in the world, including Freemasonry. And you get immediate responses and immediate dialogue. You have YouTube with thousands of pages discussing all sorts of topics, including Freemasonry. I recently watched a YouTube page. It was about a 2-minute video, and it was a body styling itself as a Grand Lodge, and they were talking about how it was a fact that their Grand Lodge had been in existence for 40,000 plus years nonstop. So you can say anything you want online. So when I think about why that question is raised, I think it's because we are so familiar with immediate impact, immediate responses, and the relaying of information that a body such as the Phylaxis Society could appear outdated. However, the Phylaxis Society, with it, you get something you don't necessarily get from those platforms with those quick responses. You get well-researched, thought through positions, quality papers in a consistent forum. All the papers appearing in the quarterly Phylaxis magazine are peer-reviewed for quality. Sources are cited, and further research and that causes further research by readers, which leads to further writers. More people get into the act of writing, which we've seen that it inspires a lot of people to write. So even though society itself is primarily based on opinion-based information sharing, even in our news media, the Phylaxis Society remains relevant, in my opinion, because of its dedication to the truth and to quality research. And I think that's the difference. That quality of the research that's done, your ability to find sources from those writers. Everything that comes through the Phylaxis magazine is peer reviewed for quality, and feedback is given to writers. So some writers have presented papers, and those papers we don't necessarily say rejected. We'll send them back with our comments. The editorial committee will review them and say either they can correct some of those things, and sometimes we even publish some of those papers, and with the caveat that this is a perspective on the item, maybe that it doesn't necessarily fit to a well-researched paper or from our direction. It's a perspective from that person, so we'll definitely publish it as such. So to me, I think that's why you would get that question about the relevancy of the Phylaxis Society. And I think it's just the nature of society today.
No, and I think that's an excellent point regarding just that the immediate microwave society that we currently live in, and I think you hit it on the head where it's that instant gratification, and it's like the Phylaxis takes us back to a time where it's that I truly miss reading a newspaper each and every day. I mean, I just like everyone else, I get my news primarily online, either my laptop or with my phone, but just that feel of having something in your hands, like the magazine,
Yeah.
and then, with the research that's put forth in there. I think, you definitely hit it on the head that and I even think some people, when they join the craft, they're actually they're looking for that aged wisdom,
Right.
so that's something that's definitely noteworthy. So
Can I say one more thing on that?
definitely.
So what I also wanted to say is like the Phylaxis Society is like a family. It's interesting. Like a lot of the writers that I see that submit papers, like Kevin Wardally out of New York. There's just a bunch of brothers that I met via Blue Light. Antoine Lilly out of North Carolina. Um, Alan Turner out of North Carolina. Preston Collins, Ludwig Hall. And it's interesting to note that this year, both the Phylaxis Society and the Phylaxis Society are the president of both are Prince Hall Masons. So we got Rashid Sharif Al Bey out of New York, who is the current president of the Phylaxis Society as a Prince Hall Mason. So that's an interesting note. And I met him through Blue Light. I don't even know why I went down that line, but because there's so many brothers, and I would want to name them all because they were all on those groups and just sharing information. The Most Worshipful Grand Master out of Maryland, Emmanuel Stanley, was in that group, just dropping a lot of information about Maryland. I mean, I could just go on and on, but the Phylaxis Society itself is like a family. So you have the Phylaxis Society on one side, then on the other side you have the Phyllis Chapter of the Phylaxis Society, which is the sisters. It was started 10 years after the Phylaxis Society was founded. So all of the brothers were coming to the sessions and they were bringing their wives, and we were in the session. They were in the sessions all day long, and the sisters were kind of just hanging out and going shopping and just doing their own thing. And so Brother Walk suggested that they form themselves into a chapter of the Phylaxis Society so that they can study and research the Order of the Eastern Star, just like the men. So it has grown, and now it has the appearance of a society in and of itself. With a president, elected officers, a board of directors, and it has local chapters as well. So, it's the environment, though. I think one of the great things you get to experience at an actual convention is you have a lot of older members, and you're sitting there at lunch, breakfast, dinner, a banquet, and you're talking to people all day, and you're getting to know them. And you never hear about titles or who someone is, and then someone gets called up, Grandmaster so and so. Can you come up to the front and speak? And it's the brother you've been sent to all weekend long. And you didn't even know he was a sitting Grandmaster, right? So you hardly ever see that type of or have that type of experience within Freemasonry because it's a lot of it's just the way the nature of the organization is and the respect and the honor that you have to pay to everyone. Where in the Phylaxis Society, it's really just all about sharing information and the research and the history and the shared experiences.
Right. Brother Morgan, you got a question for Brother Smith?
Yeah, I did. So earlier you mentioned the various books that Honorable Brother Walks wrote. And one of the books that I think is, to me, I always go back and forth about which one was his best between the history of Louisiana that he published and this book right here, which is Prince Hall's Mission, The Rise of the Phylaxis Society, which to me is probably his most underappreciated work, because I don't see a lot of people talking about this particular work. But I want to tell our viewers that if you want a free if you want to level up your standing in your understanding of Prince Hall Freemasonry, I highly recommend that you check this book out, because this is the closest thing I think that we have to an autobiography that Walks ever wrote. and it gives you the history of the society from his perspective. And there's a quote in here, Brother Smith, that I want to read to you real quickly from page 86 to get your comments on. It's kind of long, but bear with me. Brother Walks wrote, quote, no one needs to apologize ever for wanting to be the master in his own house. And Prince Hall Freemasonry was determined to be free within the family of Universal Freemasonry. The Phylaxis Society was aware that freedom was not free, that freedom was something one takes with one's own hands and maintains it with such. That freedom was not handed down from one generation to another, that each generation of Prince Hall Freemasons had to assume the responsibility of securing their Masonic manhood, and the Phylaxis Society was determined to be on the cutting edge of that effort and to support what we felt had been Prince Hall's mission, drawing on the past in order to make the present and the future greatness of Freemasonry in African America known to the world. Freemasons who oppress other Freemasons generally create a rationale to justify this oppression. They deny their victims anything that is called culture and history because they know that a consciously historical people cannot easily be oppressed. And by saying or inferring that the people who they oppress are without history or culture, or a need to practice the royal art of the mystic tie that binds all Freemasons, they are also saying that those Freemasons of Prince Hall are without humanity and not deserving of human consideration. Prince Hall had organized the first Masonic Lodge as a means of social uplift, and the Phylaxis Society was determined to carry on that tradition. It would defend Prince Hall Freemasonry from any source, external or internal. It would live up to its very name, Phylaxis. And for those who don't know, Phylaxis is Greek for, I believe it means to defend. So with that being said, I wanted to ask you, Brother Smith, do you believe that we are living up to that legacy? As you know, I as you mentioned, I am a proud member and honorary fellow of the society. Do you believe that we are living up to those words? And if not, what can we be doing better, as not just as a society, but as Prince Hall Freemasonry and the Order of Star just generally? Are we living up to that mission, to Prince Hall's mission, as Brother Walker would put it?
I mean, that's a deep question, brother. And I think you're probably going to have to ask every individual person, their own thoughts on it. I think that the Phylaxis Society is growing. I know I hear a lot of numbers about lodges that are decreasing, but our numbers have actually been on the increase for the last 3 to 4 years. So it's growing. People are wanting education, Masonic education, wanting Masonic research. So and the Phylaxis Society itself is doing some things, trying to do more things, right? So I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but we are working on a digital archive and museum. And it's not something that we're just talking about. I mean, it's actually in process and it's being built as we speak, right? So we're working with other Grand Lodges, some universities, colleges around the country to develop this database. So one of the things that we always hear from folks is that, where is the archives of the Phylaxis Society that we could reach into and use for source material. So as I stated, one of the things we're doing with that digital archives, I think, is going to be something great. And everything's going to be digitized, and so you can access it online versus being, needing to go to a physical location. So I think that's going to help a lot more researchers in the future to have access to all of our databases. And then, there's some Grand Lodges that have signed on to digitize their transactions and things of that nature and place those in as well in that digital resource. So I think, we're trying to push forward. And I think that it's a goal in progress, and Prince Hall Freemasonry in general. I think we're going to have to do some things differently. We're going to have to incorporate a lot more of these virtual platforms. And that's one of the things that I hopefully could see one day, 1 year with the Prince Hall Think Tank, to do a live broadcast from one of our Phylaxis conventions and have all you brothers there. And, throughout the weekend, giving your perspective on, what you see and how it's going. And hopefully that can increase or help us to develop the Phylaxis Society even more.
Definitely. Brother Jack, you have something as well?
Absolutely. So, Brother Smith, I know earlier you were talking about being in this day and age where we look for instant gratification. We look for being on different social media platforms, and we're looking for things to be right then and there. But the one thing that I do notice is whenever the new publication of the Phylaxis Society comes out, um, everybody is looking for it. Everybody puts on their Facebook page or in the Facebook groups. I got my order. And everybody's wondering when the next one coming in. What does the cover of that publication look like? What is it that what we look for? So I still think when in terms of that old question as far as relevance, I think I believe that it's still relevant today because of the content that is within those pages. And so for me, I think one of my biggest accomplishments is to actually have had an article put into one of the magazines because regardless of the things that I've done, I feel like saying that I've had an article published in the magazine is saying that I'm part of the, upper echelon of writers who have put out, publications, whether it's been a Marlon Honeywell, Kevin Wardali, Eric Hornahina, so on and so forth. So my question to you is, for those who are writers or for those who are aspiring to be writers or even afraid to put themselves out there who may have great work, can you tell them what is it that you look for as far as a good piece to be placed within the Phylaxis magazine?
Well, we look at the information that's being presented, how it's presented, the format that it's presented in. If it's a historical piece, are the sources cited? We're looking for something original from your perspective, from your point of view. But I would just challenge anyone that has written something to send it in. Send it over to the editor. The worst thing that can happen is you get it back with you get some feedback on it on how to make it better and point you in the right direction to get it published in the Phylaxis magazine. So, I would say that, it's not some rigid organization, which it may appear to be, but there are brothers in there that generally want to produce more writers. So they want to help you to improve your papers and get them published in the magazine. Sometimes we have a backlog of articles or papers that are presented that we use down the line. So it may not get in this magazine. It may be the next quarter, the quarter after that. So again, I would just challenge writers, if you're writing, if you have a unique perspective on a topic, to send it in. These are good brothers who care, and their goal is to produce more writers.
Absolutely. And on that note, I wanted to make sure that I follow good and wholesome instruction because I received a call today from Master Jerry Urso, Honorable Urso out of Florida, who told me to make sure that I congratulated Brother Damian Jack. For those who do not know, or if you didn't check this episode out a while back, we did an episode on Luxi Tenebris, which is an element within the society, which is basically an invite-only body for basically those who are considered among the most elite writers in the society's membership. I'm proud to say that I've been a member since I think 2017. But Brother Damian Jack recently was added to our rolls as one of the newest additions. So I was instructed. I want to make sure y'all can go tell Brother Urso that I followed instructions. So I want to congratulate Brother Jack on being invited and is joining Luxi Tenebris. Every year, the Luxi Tenebris publishes research transactions. And so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what Brother Jack has coming in this next issue. And I know I have something coming in that as well. So congratulations, Brother Jack.
God is awesome. Thank you very much. Something that I don't take lightly at all. I think to be mentioned in the arena of writers that belong to Luxi Tenebris is something that's beyond humbling. And like I said, I don't take it for granted. So thank you to Brother Urso and to the brothers of Luxi Tenebris for thinking highly enough of me to honor me and joining this great establishment. Thank you so much.
Yeah, congratulations, sir.
Congrats. Yeah, and I think it just speaks to like one of the things too, and I think you all just hit on it. Just the platform that the society has given so many people within Prince Hall Freemasonry to again express themselves, to share their thoughts on the craft, and let that be. I love what someone said earlier as far as provide. You said provide that safe space. You know, for brothers to express themselves without the the I guess the confines sometimes that our membership may bring. So that's definitely appreciated. Yeah.
And also, brother Kathy,
I
on,
think
on
it's a
that same note,
freedom.
I would say this that on that note, I would say this too. One of the things that I love about the society personally, and I've been blessed to take advantage of, is sometimes I love this quote they say in the church. They say that God doesn't always call the qualified, but He always qualifies the called. And the reason why I bring that up is because when Brother Walks decided to come up with the Phylaxis Society back in the 70s, people weren't really checking for Prince Hall Masonic scholarship, especially when it came to our history, almost at all. And so the fact that he created a body to not only expose people, writers and whatnot, and to give people a platform, but also, and I don't want y'all to take this lightly, the awards that Brother Smith was reading off earlier. To me, those are very important because sometimes you have to legitimize yourself. Sometimes you have to qualify yourself and your own people and not worry about what the other folks, whether are they going to give me an award? Give yourself the award. Give yourself the pat on the back sometimes. And so, I know I've been blessed to receive a few awards and honors from the society. I know Brother Jack has as well. I know Brother Smith has as well. To me, that is very important because other folks, and y'all know what I mean, other folks aren't always going to recognize you. But sometimes you have to recognize yourself and your own accomplishments and celebrate them. So this is I know this year we're going to be talking about the conference is virtual this week coming up. I know we're going to talk about that. But normally under pre-COVID times and hopefully post-COVID times, just having that weekend away and just being with the brothers and sisters is something that definitely I don't take for granted. And I highly encourage folks, if you're not a member of the society, please make sure that you join because it will only enrich your Masonic experience.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful feeling. I know that last year was my first attendance to the Phylaxis convention when it was here in North Carolina in Raleigh, and I didn't tell. I have to call him Honorable Smith. I have to give him his flowers. I didn't tell Honorable Smith this, but when I walked into the North Raleigh Hilton and you see that banner, as far as Phylaxis Society, I mean, it was butterflies that I didn't even know that I didn't have, because you are amongst giants among giants, and you want to make sure that what you put out there is you put your best foot forward. And I think that's something that we talked about when it was Brother Morgan, myself, Jeff Menzies, brother Roundtree, and we talked about Daryl Hodge, and we had the round table of writers. A lot of people are afraid to put their stuff out there because it causes you to be vulnerable. And it causes you to be vulnerable to critiques, criticisms, opinions, so on and so forth. And there's some who are afraid of that. But I think one of the best things about the Phylaxis Society is that it gives you that freedom to express, what you feel, why you feel it, and for you to back up what you are saying, and to be amongst a group who are enlightened enough to take in what you say and come back with constructive criticism. I think we've all have been to a point where we may have put something out, whether it has been historical in nature, esoteric in nature, symbolic in nature, where we've put something out and we have hit that roadblock, that where is this coming from, why are you discussing this, why, and so to have that freedom is almost like a breath of fresh air. So To me, because of that breath of fresh air, the Phylaxis Society will always be relevant.
Definitely. Brother Morgan, do we have any questions this evening?
Yeah, we have a lot actually, and the number one question that multiple people are asking about is the 2021 conference, which I think was mentioned is virtual this year. So, Brother Smith, can you please let us know when that conference is and how can our viewers get registered so they can be involved? And maybe we can tell them a little bit about who's going to be on the agenda as well, speaking also.
Yes, no, yeah, not a problem. So the convention actually starts this Thursday. We'll have our Council of Fellows on Thursday morning. So you have to be a member of you have to be a fellow of the society to attend that. And then we have our board meeting, which is open to anyone who has registered for the Phylaxis session. So that's the difference about all of the board meetings. They're wide open. If you register, you're invited. So you get to see what's going on. You get to be a part of all of the reports that are being presented from the treasurer, the secretary, the executive secretary, and the president, and the first vice president, all the way down the line to the council of chapters and representatives. And so those two will be held on Thursday. And then on Friday morning, we'll do a short opening, as well as a memorial service for all of the members that we've lost over the past year. So this year we had 8 presentations. We generally have more, 12, 15 presentations, but we didn't want to try to keep people online all day long. So we just did 4 each day. So on Friday, after we do the opening, we'll go into the presentation. So we have 4. We have one that we're going to do this year for Joseph Walks. We are actually still cleaning it up and editing that one, but it should be ready for Friday morning. It's going to be the Phylaxis Society, A Glorious and Wonderful Journey. So he's done presentations over the years for the Phylaxis Society when he was living, and we have a bunch of those in storage that we're trying to bring out so that we, especially in this virtual area, we can show some of those, right? Then we have The Sound of Music by Honorable Damian Jack, Prince Hall Think Tank's own. He'll be after that. And then we'll have one by Honorable Tyrone Jackson, who is the chairman of the board of directors, the Underground Railroad south of Chicago. And then Honorable Oscar Allen, who is the Grand Junior Warden of the Grand Lodge of New York, the state of New York, the Philanthropic Colored Grand Lodge of 1844 in New York is going to be his presentation. So we'll do those 4, and then later on Friday afternoon, for those who are members of the Cairo fraternity, we will have a virtual session of Cairo as well. And then Saturday morning, we pick back up with presentations again. The first one is going to be Honorable James Morgan. He's going to have a presentation, Cutting Corners, Prince Hall Freemasonry and the Barber Trade. So I'm looking forward to that one. And this year, we brought back a sister to do a presentation as well. It's been about 4 or 5 years since we had a sister do a presentation. So Honorable Darnisha Pickett, a member of the Phyllis Chapter, will be doing a presentation, Ever the Walking Path Grows. And then we also have a new item this year. We have one of our international members who's going to do a presentation, Brother Alexandros Madiano, who lives in Greece. He's a member of the Phylaxis Society, a life member, and he's going to do a presentation on some forgotten Masonic aspects of the 1821 revolution. And then we'll wrap up the presentations with Honorable Jeff Menzies, fellow of the Phylaxis Society, Reclaiming Our Stolen Legacy, a charge to the Prince Hall family. So I'm looking forward to that one. I'm looking forward to all of them. Luxie Tenebris, I believe they're going to be doing a short presentation as well. And then we have the Grand Masters Forum. So every year, whatever jurisdiction we're in, the host Grand Master usually chairs a forum of the Grand Masters who are present and just takes questions from the membership that's there. So we're going to do that again this year. And the chairman is the Most Worshipful Grand Master Malcolm D. Morris, Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Missouri. And then after that, we'll wrap up the session with the awards presentation. So if you are still wanting to register, you can definitely visit the Phylaxis Society.org, our website. The registration is there. You can, I believe they are PDFs, so you can either print them out or you can fill them out online, and then you can email that over to the secretary. So the information is all on the form. So we try, and you can pay via PayPal, so you don't have to mail a check. I know that's one of the things that we've often gotten is like, hey, we need to do away with this mailing things in. We need to be able to pay online. So you can pay via PayPal online for that as well. And that's about it.
Honorable Smith, I would be remiss, since you brought it up. I would be remiss if you did not explain Cairo fraternity. Me being a worthy knight and you currently serving as Grand Sovereign of Cairo fraternity. There are those who question what Cairo is about. So if you wouldn't mind giving a little brief explanation of what Cairo is about and the requirements for becoming a member of Cairo.
Right. So Cairo is it's styled as a Greek letter fraternity within the Phylaxis Society. You have to be a member of the Phylaxis Society to join Cairo. It's a Christian take on the Masonic degrees. We go into the Red Cross of Constantine and the Holy Sepulchre, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So it's its own little organization within the Phylaxis Society. It goes into, we have the motto in Tutunica, which is conquer by this. Some may know that by another phrase. I think that's the Greek. Some people may know the Latin phrase for that. And that's that cross of light that Constantine saw in the sky and with his army, and they put that on their shields and their helmets, and they were victorious in battle. But it's also based on some of the African knights who were a member of his elite guard, such as Saint Maurice. So there's a whole story behind it. It's very interesting. You can get some of the details off of the Phylaxis Society webpage for Cairo as well. And I do serve as the third Grand Sovereign of the Society. So yeah, we have a huge class this year, over 40 people that we're going to be initiating on Friday evening. And information on that is also on the website. If you still have time to register, we're trying to get all of the links out by mid to late week for the session itself, as well as the Cairo fraternity. I hope that was enough, Brother Jack.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, you don't want to give too much away. You want to pique people's interest. So
I think that just is. I mean, you talk about surface level. That's the surface. It's Brother Jack is in there. He knows what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
It's a very interesting organization, and it's a whole completely new, different take on the degrees of the first three craft degrees, as well as some of that history. And it's based off of one of Prince Hall's charges. So it's interesting. So for those who are interested in it, take a look at the website.
And it's interesting. So I think one of the most important things about that is, and we see this conversation, I think, sometimes in some of these Facebook groups, because you'll see all of these other appendant or concordant bodies from, that are, I guess, affiliated with the Grand Lodge of State, lodges and systems. And then when you come over to Prince Hall Freemasonry, you don't see that. And sometimes there's this thought where, because you can't do that, like if you do anything else, outside of what exists, it's wrong. And I think as we, again, expand our knowledge base, expand our way of thinking, like, no, it's okay to these organizations that not only exist, but just to thrive. Because ultimately the purpose is enlightenment. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I love that aspect of it.
Can I say one other thing too? Brother Dr. Jeff Menzies is working on creating a new rite called the African rite. And I always bring it up so he can keep it front of mind and he can keep pushing it. I've invited him to do a presentation on the African rite and what he's trying to do. He did one last year. So I hope he's continuing to work on that. The Phylaxis Society would love for him to create it and bring it to us first so that we can have this new African rite. And I just hope he's continuing to work on it. So I just want to throw that out there to the universe. Hopefully, Brother Menzies will catch it.
Yeah, he mentioned that when we had him on the show. He mentioned that, and the comment in the chat box just blew up, with comments and everything about it. So yeah,
absolutely. Brother Smith, real quick, before we go forward, I wanted to make sure we don't forget this. I'm seeing some people in here in the chat who are saying they're members of the Phylaxis Society. But one thing that I'm not seeing, and I'm not saying it's not there, but one thing I'm not seeing is people talking about the chapters that they belong to of the society. So can you talk just real briefly about the importance of, because we know we have a lot of members around all over the world, but can you talk a little bit about the importance of chapters, especially for those who may not be affiliated with a Phylaxis chapter?
Right. Yeah, so the Phylaxis chapters kind of mirror the national body. There's a president, first vice president, second vice president, treasurer, secretary. And the goal, they're not like study clubs where you get around and everybody gets to learn and we all, just sit around the table and kind of take one subject and we all learn from that subject. It's really more like the national body where the goal is for each of the individual members to go out and research a topic, bring it back to your chapter, discuss that information, help you. It's helping you to get prepared to be published in the Phylaxis magazine. So it's a great support system for any new writers. There's a whole process that goes into forming a new chapter, but we've brought on multiple new chapters in the last couple of years. And I have to go back to what I said earlier that, the Phylaxis Society seems to be growing. People are wanting that Masonic education. So we are forming new chapters. We're bringing in new members. And if there's not a chapter close to you or in your jurisdiction, there may be one close to you. Or you can get some more members together and you can all form your own chapter. So it's definitely a very important aspect of the Phylaxis Society. And like I said, it's the lifeblood of the Phylaxis Society with the Council of Representatives.
Have to shout out our chapter, Brother Smith, Herbert Bell Shaw chapter here in North Carolina.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So Herbert Bell Shaw was a past Grand Master of my jurisdiction, and the chapter is named in his honor.
Excellent. Now, I'm a member of the Charles. Actually, I'm actually the first vice president of the Charles Sharp chapter of Washington D.C. I just thought I'd throw that in there. So, Brother Cap, we're still doing viewer questions, right? I saw a question in here earlier. I believe it was from Sister Hackett. I'm not sure I fully understood it, but maybe Brother Smith will, in his infinite wisdom, understand it better than I did. I know she asked something about, is the society a professional organization? I wasn't really sure what she meant by that, but I wanted to make sure I acknowledged the question.
I'm not sure what she means by professional organization. I know that the Phylaxis Society is made up of all members of Prince Hall Grand Lodges, as well as any other recognized Grand Lodge. So I'm not sure when she says professional society. Here's membership. So I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. LaTroy Irvin from down in Florida, my man, he asked, how can one join the York Rite Research Group and the Scottish Rite Research Society?
All right, so both of those should have the contact information from directors on the website. I know that Richard Hudson, I think his information is there, and Willard Spires, his information, if it's not there, should be there very shortly. So there's a process there where you can submit your membership application, and he'll provide you back the information. And they have a quarterly newsletter that they send out when they have enough information to create one. So the contacts for those should be on the website.
Excellent. I'm not seeing any more viewer questions in the comments this evening.
Okay. That's fine.
All right.
Well, Brother Smith.
Here's the important question, Brother Smith. Where can people get one of these stylish shirts from?
And they should be on the website as well. Like the gift shop is now up and running. So, I know in the past it has, we haven't had it operating, but it's been up and running for a little while now. So there's books out there, there's pens out there. I think there's the polo shirts are out there. And these are the new polo shirts that was just produced last year. So these ones are a little bit nicer quality and better design. The Phylaxis logo was real huge on them. So, I think they're definitely in the gift shop. And I thank you for your support.
That's called that quick plug.
There you go.
Did you see the twinkle on my tooth? Did you see the twinkle?
Oh man! All right, well, Brother Smith, it's been a pleasure, to have you on, and generally during this time of the evening of the show is where we go into our closing thoughts for the evening. So we always let our guests, when we have them on, we always let them lead the way. So any closing remarks or closing thoughts you may have for us tonight?
I just want to first of all, just thank you, brothers, for the invite. Sometimes I don't know how I get myself into these rooms. Like I'm just your average brother, man. All I do is just try to do the work and show love. And, so I don't know how I get myself in these rooms sometimes. So I appreciate the invite to this platform. I don't take it lightly. Again, I'm a big fan. And if there's only one wish that I could have is that I can get you brothers to do something with the Phylaxis Society. I think it would definitely be impactful. You have a big following. We have a big following. I think together we could do some great things. But at the end of the day, I'm just happy to be here. I appreciate the invite.
Definitely, yeah. That's one of our goals, I think, too, to definitely just we'd love to continue to support, because as I said earlier, we stand on you all's shoulders, and every Prince Hall Masonic writer, commentator, or anything, dealing with history, we wouldn't be able to continuously do what we do if it wasn't for what the society has done and continues to do. So we definitely look forward to that. Brother Morgan.
Well, I am so glad that we were able to make this happen. This is one of those topics that I've wanted for a long time for us to talk about, because for me, I wish we had gotten a chance to talk a little bit about or at least that I had gotten a chance to talk about my Phylaxis story, only because the society was one of those things that when I joined Freemasonry, it was one of the first things that I got kind of introduced to, like you were saying earlier, Brother Smith. And, for me, it really gave me an outlet to, become the man I am today, become the scholar that I am today, the author that I am today. Everybody knows, I wrote my first book, but the first opportunity that I had to put my Masonic research out there was through both the Phylaxis Society and my jurisdiction's newspaper, the Masonic Digest. And so I am eternally grateful to the society for the opportunity. I'm grateful to you, Brother Smith, and to Honorable Alex Smith for your leadership and guidance, and for allowing me to be a part of the legacy of this great and awesome organization, which is one of the reasons why I am not only I'm honored to be an honorary fellow, but I made sure to become a life member as well, because that's how much this society means to me. And so I really want to encourage everybody within it who can hear my voice right now, or who can hear it on the recording, to please, even if you're not a Prince Hall Mason or Eastern Star, please consider joining and getting that magazine. Please consider coming to the conference, because I promise you, you will learn something. I know, because I learn something every single time. And with that being said, thank you all, and I look forward to seeing everybody next month.
Thank you, Brother Morgan. Brother Jack.
As always, it is an honor and a pleasure to be before you this evening. It has been an outstanding discussion, as always. What is amazing, and I know that I have posted it on Facebook earlier this morning, is that 5 years ago to the day, I was a guest on this show when I published my first book. It was February 28th, 2016, and 5 years later, God has blessed me to be in this position. So I'm very grateful for the honor to be before you. Before I go, I would be remiss if I did this. I am always an advocate of giving a person flowers while they're alive to smell them. So to my brother and to my friend DiMaggio Smith, what many people don't know and have no idea is that um, in my beginnings in masonry, when Brother Smith served his second term as worship master, he invited me to Unique to give a lecture, and it was my very first time that I had ever given any type of lecture, period. And he, entrusted me and had faith in me enough to provide a lecture for Unique. And at the end of that night, he gave me the honor of being an honorary member of Unique 85. And I remember as serving as worship master, he honored me by coming to Paul Drayton to come and give a lecture as well. And Brother Smith had showed up on the Facebook memories not too long ago that it was actually your first Prince Hall Lodge that you actually gave a lecture to. So in many ways, Brother Smith has really cultivated my Masonic journey. I have had the honor and pleasure of serving with him as he served as commander in chief of our consistory. He's doing an outstanding job at this point in time, serving as our chief for band of Ramesses Temple number 51, while our illustrious potentate is battling illness right now. We pray for him as well. So while he may say that he is just a small person that may be and he doesn't know how he gets into this position, he is a definite, in my opinion, the epitome of Matthew 5:16 that says, let your light so shine that men may see your works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. So to Brother Smith, it is my honor and my pleasure to be not only your brother and your friend. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. And until next month, we see you again. Oh, and by the way, the only reason why Dave Gillum is not here is because the Knicks are finally one game under 500, so he's out somewhere celebrating. So
thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
Brother Gillarm and the Knicks. You all thought we were going to get one episode where the Knicks wasn't mentioned, and we couldn't go out like that. So I'm trying to keep the streak alive. Thanks, brothers. But again, thanks, Brother Smith, for joining us this evening. There was a time when Brother Walks was a one-man wrecking crew when within the craft. He battled those that spoke ill of Prince Hall Freemasonry. He had his battles within Prince Hall Freemasonry because he wanted to make sure that our story was told correctly. So, it's our job to continue his fight, the fight that he started. And again, he's the shoulders that we stand upon. Thanks again for joining us tonight. We hope you've gained a little insight. Please continue to keep yourself safe. Mask up. If you're eligible for the vaccine, I'm a proponent of it, being in healthcare, and I've got vaccinated. So I would urge you all to do the research on it and come to your own logical conclusion once you've done the real research on it, and then just take care of yourself and keep safe. Have a good evening, and remember, let's continue to teach masonry in our lodges. Have a great night.